Welcome back to the commandsofjesus.com, the Commands of Jesus of the New Testament series, Hebrews with explanations. Hebrews 7, by faith Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. Let me read that again. It's a little bit tough on the Old English there. By faith Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. Okay, so let's get on over to the interlinear. By faith, having been divinely instructed, let's look this word up. A little slow here. I warn, am publicly called. Okay. Transact business, to make answer. Okay. Let's look at the word and the direct definition. To transact business, to make answer. So, by faith, to make an answer, Noah concerning the things not yet seen, having been moved with fear. Okay, so Noah concerning the things not yet seen, having been moved with fear. Let's go look up this word. Fear, anxious. Okay, so fear, anxious. Prepared an ark for the salvation, deliverance, salvation, okay, of the household of him by which he condemned. Let's look this word up. I condemn, to give judgment against. All right, so to give judgment against the world. All right, so it's a little bit confusing. So, judgment against the world. Well, I mean, God gives the judgment against the world. Does this mean that this is a show of judgment against the world because Noah believed God and others didn't listen to his warnings? All right, just tossing an idea out there. Okay, he condemned the world. I condemn. Let's just look up that word again. To give judgment against. Let's look at the direct definition here. To give judgment against, on the Greek word. Okay, of him by which to give judgment against the world. So the he condemned translation is a translation idea, I guess, because of course we understand that God is judging the world because there's just evil everywhere. Or now, as many researchers have come out to bring about, it's the human DNA was corrupted by the angel human hybrid offspring, the watcher angels who had the flesh bodies. And there are all sorts of channels on that. Let's see who comes to mind. Steve Quayle, yeah. And then L.A. Marzulli. These guys have done a ton of research on this stuff. And, the world's out there trying to genetically create Superman and all this and that, and doing all sorts of stuff. Okay, so let's get back on topic because I'm trying to prevent myself from going way off on that tangent, which is, super interesting. But okay, and of the according to faith righteousness became heir. And okay, let's look at that up quickly. it's just according to faith, pistis, they'll probably say pistis, it does say pistis, faith, faithfulness, trust, confidence, fidelity, faithfulness. Okay, righteousness, dikaiosune, justice, justness, righteousness, became heir. Now, we see this word righteousness used a lot in the Bible, and I've heard the word righteous used over time a lot, and it's just been used out of context so much, and there seems to be a big lack of understanding. And of course, you have one of those two stoner guys. They became a popular word to use in the 80s or the 90s? Righteous, man, so anyways, but so you have this, you hear this word a lot, righteous. Well, what's righteous? It's, to me, this righteousness is, when it's used in the Bible, it's just kind of like it's referring to the common sense that, hey, everything's from God, and we must honor Him first because everything comes from Him, all right? And He has created us, and He sustains us, and He has a purpose for creating us, all right? Now, you've also probably heard this, God has a plan for your life or a purpose for your life, a phrase used a lot, all right? And it's kind of been used so much without much explanation that it's kind of become like an expression that we just kind of hear and ignore, but don't know really what it means. Kind of like the word righteous. Now, there is a concept where God has a destiny, a pre-written out destiny for you to fulfill, okay? And that destiny will involve God and you coming and drawing closer to Him. God wants an awesome relationship with you. I don't know what kind of experiences you've had in relationships. I have been fortunate to have some very good relationships. I've done a lot of different things over time. And just due to the intensity of different things I've done, it's allowed me to have these really great, friendships or romantic or girl boy relationships. I say girl boy, particularly when I was younger, and I learned a lot of things. It was very interesting, and so I was able to experience certain depths of relationship and see the amazingness and I guess you can use the word beauty of it. I mean, it's just can be really wonderful. And I also got a picture and a feeling and a sense and experience of the greatness that can be had in a relationship. For example, a marriage can be so awesome, but you need two smart, intelligent people who know God and fear God and are willing to sacrifice the ways of the world and whatever mockings of the world and whatever, pitch and tauntings and bullyings of the world to try to get you to follow Lucifer, right? And who are willing to go inquire of God and search His Word on, what to do. So, for example, popular over the past decade or two, it's been very negatively popular is divorce. I mean, why do people think they can get divorced besides someone cheating? I mean, where do they get this idea? I mean, people in church, what's this church divorce rate I heard was even higher than the world? I mean, that's well, that also goes to what I've been explaining to you about these man-made doctrines that have seduced people and blinded them from the plain Word of God. It's gotten people thinking that once you say the sinner's prayer, there's no repercussion of sin, and you're just saved, right? And it doesn't matter how much you sin, you can just, it doesn't matter. Well, now from one standpoint, there's an aspect that is addressed with that, in that you're looking at things in a totally positive, good, faithful way, okay, in a faithful relationship with God. And there's an aspect I believe that people are trying to emphasize there, in that because you're going to have this close, complete trusting relationship with God, that you're going to follow Him in spirit, and so therefore, don't try to start worrying about about sinning all the time. Don't put your focus on sins and to avoid, and whether you're sinning or not, because then that will draw you towards sinning and this and that and this and that. And okay, I mean, there's some angle to that, but then you have to ask, well, why did God put all these commands in the Bible, right? And so, why do we have all these things stated in the New Testament? And well, that other philosophy I just described tends to go and say, well, that's, you don't really need to pay attention to the Bible anymore, okay? So you just need to, walk in faith with God, and absolutely you need to walk in faith with God, but, first of all, you're living in the world. Second of all, your soul was not instantly transformed. You were birthed a new man that's perfect. And if you walk in the Spirit, which is basically a daily performance, then you can follow after the Spirit and learn. But if you don't have a reprogramming of the soul, then you don't have knowledge and understanding of Jesus' commands and the difference between right and wrong. You don't have the meat of the word. So therefore, when you get hit with the tricks of the enemy and these emotional-based charges, they can really sway you and turn you and disrupt your performance-based focus, which performance-based focus is what? That means you walking in the Spirit. You have to focus to do that, right? Okay? You have to renew your mind daily. You have to focus and spend time with God. Now, the most ideal thing is for you to always turn to God and spend time with Him, all right? And abide in His presence, okay? But now, because you live in the world, right, and you interact with so much bombardment of the enemy and tricks and the commands of the enemy being bombarded at you, from education to media, internet, TV, news, commercials, and then multiplied and compounded by other people around you who have picked up all this stuff and who are telling you this, and then they're mocking you, they're excluding you, they're not making, you're trying to say you're not cool because you're not doing this or that sin with them. This can have a lot of pressure. So I would gather that because of all this bombardment by the enemy and the volume advantage the enemy has, because we are living under his lordship here in this world, that this is why we have Jesus' commands in the New Testament. Okay? And so this is why God gave us his commands, all right? So that we would go rewrite our soul. So we go erase the commands of the enemy by what I call uninstalling, like your computer, right? You uninstall the malware, right? And you do that by what? Identifying that this belief of the command of the enemy is not okay and not good to do. Okay? You do a sin or a command of the enemy, command of the kingdom of darkness, command of Satan, therefore making Satan your Lord, because you think it's okay or good to do. Now, I said the word think. That involves you thinking in your soul, all right? Or maybe you can say thinking in your flesh. But this is a thought locked into your mind and your heart. That's your soul. Your soul has two minds, a heart mind and a cerebral mind. So then, therefore, which is connected into your brain and your physical heart, right? So then, where you can get biofeedback from your heart, physical heart, and your brain, right? From your flesh body. All right. So you have this cerebral mind, and this heart mind, and you have all sorts of stuff recorded into it. Okay. The heart's mind has thoughts mixed with emotions, and emotions are attached to those thoughts, and those emotions provide energy to those thoughts. The cerebral mind can just have thoughts, and you can even actually get yourself to act like a robot and cerebrally execute thoughts, right? So you have these two minds, and you have all sorts of inputs in these minds over time from your experiences, what you picked up. You can easily have a thought turn into a belief, input in the soul from hearing something off the radio in like a couple seconds. You can accept it. You don't have your shields up, and you think, "Oh, okay, that just must be the way." They told me something on the news channel because it's on the news. It just must be right. So then you let this stuff into your soul. It could be anything. It could be a lot of these little subtle things, suggestions, trying to say that, oh, it's okay to go or it's cool to go shag around with all these people, right? For example, just about every other TV show or maybe every TV show kind of even drops that hint, right? Then they went on into all sorts of other variants on off of that, which sexual deviance and all that kind of stuff. So this stuff gets dropped in your soul. Then you think, oh well, it must be okay. So then all of a sudden you picked up a new belief, thinking that it must be okay and good to do because all these other people are doing it, and they seem nice. So therefore, oh, I guess God just made some new rules. I guess it's okay now. Well, God is love, so therefore He won't get mad at us if we just do whatever. Okay, so yeah, so you've heard that thinking for too long. Okay, and so that thinking just opens the door to just about every kind of sin. I mean, you could justify everything just about. Okay, you can say there's always some reason why someone did something bad, and therefore you should have sympathy for it. Then that just goes into a swirling dervish of eventual utter destruction of everything and everyone. Okay, because that will just keep going, and then all of a sudden iniquity rules, and iniquity is like antimatter. It's here to destroy. Okay. Just like in the ice crystal formations, water crystal formations, iniquity emotions, hate, okay, fear, right, create really ugly looking, messed up water crystals, if you can even call them crystals. But holy emotions around water crystals form these beautiful looking, patterns and snowflake looking, what you're used to seeing with snowflake. Beautiful patterns in water and I guess ice formation as well. Extremely interesting. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense though. But to see that in science and to see that the effect of the holiness set of emotions versus iniquity emotions register in the formation of things, particularly water. That's a big deal. And that gives a lot of clarity between the two kingdoms, the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of the pit of hell, okay, of darkness. So this is important to know. So therefore, we need these commands to reprogram our soul so we don't get what? Tricked. All right? These commands are the meat of the word that shows us the difference between right and wrong, as we already covered here in Hebrews. So we need to reprogram the soul with these commands. So, what's righteousness? Okay. If you have a relationship with God, okay, which everyone should, and you trust Him, okay, and you respect Him for who He is, you respect Him for His personality and His position, His character, and how He does things and how He says things. All right, with also included wisdom that since whatever God speaks creates, or at least when He speaks, He has spoken creation into existence. You can understand that God's probably not going to say a bunch of extra things or idle words, okay, or just keep on explaining all these things. And also, He's God. Why does He have to go say all these extra details for you to help your to actually encourage your fear and doubts, so you can continually fear and doubt and distrust Him, instead of just hearing what He says and saying, okay, all right, I got you, I heard it. And in faith, you're going to understand what it means, at least in time, or you're going to get the rest of the information you need, all right, to be able to do something, okay? If God says something, you just go with it. And this is what Noah did, all right? Even though his physical surroundings showed a very different picture, and I mean, in a similar way, although maybe not as big and dramatic, you have this every day, okay? You have a surrounding, at least right here, still beginning of 2018. So you have this surrounding of all this hideous, evil, wicked stuff all around you. Behaviors, come through the media, mostly movies, TV, and this and that, completely brainwashed. Not completely, but thoroughly, maybe is better word to use. Thoroughly saturated our culture with sin beliefs. Okay, so therefore you have people just confused, and things are a mess, and they think they're being righteous. They think they're doing the right thing by doing sin, all right, and encouraging sin and promoting sin, and then they think they're doing the right thing about attacking those who look to obey God and His command, because this sounds it all of a sudden it sounds like it's not being sympathetic, right? Okay, so remember, the ways of man, okay, as Jesus says, are the ways of Satan, the ways of man, flesh. Okay, remember, this is when He called Peter Satan, right? Or He was speaking to Satan behind, who was whispering in Peter's ear. Okay, and so, Peter's not Satan, right? So it's probably something like that. And so then, so the point was that the ways of man, the ways of pleasing the flesh, are the ways of the world, the ways of Satan. So do understand that. The ways of the Spirit, holiness, is the ways of God. And, overall, let's have some common sense here. How long do we usually last in this flesh form on average? Well, any of us could go like that. Today, tomorrow, next week, hello. Let's remember that, okay? But the average lifespan, let's just say it's 70, okay? So then if this average lifespan is 70, then, all right, well, that's, that comes and goes pretty quickly. Especially as you get older, time seems to move faster, it seems like. All right, but so we have this perspective that this world is everything. We contend to, I should say. And that's just nonsense. This world is just a little bit in time. Okay? Let's use some common sense and ask the question, what happens after you die? Right? And then, when you ask that question, well, there are different answers from the mind that has been taught by different people. You can say, oh, you just cease to exist, or no, you go on somewhere else. And most people across the planet would, from their innate knowing, know that no, you go on to another existence, or actually your existence is already here, but it's been knit into this flesh body. Okay, so you're just shedding the flesh body, and so what happens to you after there? Where do you go? Okay, who's going to take care of you? How are you going to exist and survive and thrive? What goes on? So then you pursue the answer to that. And then because of the innate knowing inside of you and the innate yearning for God, you think, maybe I should go find how I got here in the first place and go find my maker. Okay? Or you can go follow this yearning, this deep yearning in my heart, my soul. And let's just go follow that, and let's go find God, and let's get to the bottom of this. So you pursue that, and you're looking for the truth. You look for the truth, you're going to find the truth. The truth is Christ. Right? Jesus is the truth. Okay? And so you're going to find Christ, and now you're going to find what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go. All right? All right. So also, then you have all these after death and outer body experiences. And so then we start to think, let's just think logically here in probability. You have to think, well, all right, let's say you have all these people across the planet, say you go somewhere after you die, okay? And the majority of these people talk about a heaven and a hell. So, well, if that's a possibility, how do I make sure I go to the good place? Okay, who has the answer? Who has the total answer that when I see the answer, I feel like, yep, this is it. I know. I don't just feel like that, and the emotions in my heart that gives me some comfy, fluffy thing, but where I know in my gut that this is right. Okay, where do I find an answer? You seek, you shall find. When you seek for the truth and you are willing to let the truth stand on its own, you will find Jesus. He is the way, the truth, the life. Remember? So that's what you do. That's the process I went through. Okay? And then as I got into these different, squirrely denominations after I was born again, wondering what happened how come people aren't genuine and holy when I was first born again in that one church way up there. And I'm like, what's going on here? How come where's the joy? Where's the love? How come people are mean? What's this divorce rate? This is, what's going on here? And so my insides are like, well, I want the truth. So eventually I said, maybe I should read my Bible more. All these denominations, religions talk about the Bible. You know what? If you guys aren't going to follow the Bible, why don't you go take the Bible out completely and go call yourself something else? Don't call yourself Christian. All right? Because you're not. If you're not going to follow Christ, and that means if you're not going to obey Christ, you got to do the whole thing. You got to do the whole word. You can't just take out parts. And I hear there are different versions of the Bible. They're actually taking out parts of the Bible, making their own Bible. Well, these guys must be super powerful. Boy, they must be stronger than God, and they've created their own heaven. Wow. Impressive. Huh. They should show us more about their power. Yeah, right. Okay, so righteousness, doing what God says. Trust in Him. God says this, say, okay. All right, I mean, you don't guess. You don't compare it to the ways of the world. You don't compare it to your past thinking and beliefs. You just go with what God says. All right? You go. If He says something that sounds new to you, you just say, okay, that's just the way it is. That's the way I go. And then it may seem awkward at first. You may not know really what to do, but you trust God and He'll give you the next step. Okay? Okay, and so the story of Noah is, I would say, most know well. And so Noah was building the ark. Let's see if we can find how many years. Okay, let's go over here to Genesis 6. Okay, so we go here. Here are the giants. Okay, the Watcher Angels. I think it's the Watcher Angels. Started hooking up with Earth women, all right, and they started going all over the place. And you can read the details in the Book of Enoch. They just got consumed by the ways of the flesh. They started mating with men and then animals, and okay, all right. So God saw the wickedness of man was great on the earth. So the concept here, according to the Steve Quayles and the L.A. Marzulli studies, is because they're all not human anymore, right? And so they're not completely human. They're hybrids, angel DNA, and so on and so forth. And the giants were literal giants. The first set of giants in the Book of Enoch were what the Greeks called the Titans. They're like 450 feet high, okay? Because just like the liger of modern day, they crossbred or crossed something, the tiger and the lion, I think, and it had no genetic marker to say stop growing. So this thing is massive. You can find that online. I didn't study too much about the liger, but I saw a video, I think an article or something. All right. And it repented the Lord, okay, that He made man on the earth. It grieved Him at His heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and creeping thing, and fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made him. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Okay. Earth was corrupt and filled with violence. Okay, and here are the details. And thus did Noah according to all that God commanded him, so did he. I'm going to go here, pop over to a Got Questions answer. And as this author mentions, it doesn't specifically say how long it took Noah to build the ark. He's first mentioned at 500 years old, and the flood, or Noah enters the ark at 600. So it's kind of assumed. Wait a minute. Some scholars teach that Noah took 120 years to build the ark, based on Genesis 6:3. Others say 100 years. Okay. So, point is that there was, or what I'm trying to bring about is that there may be a delay from a promise of God or a future thing to come to pass, and there often is, right? And we humans tend to think that because God says something's going to come about, that it's going to come about tomorrow. And we're dealing with this right now in real time, where we have various Trump prophecies and prophecies of the destruction of the New World Order and so on and so forth. Well, we all want it yesterday. Then, there's also prophecies of blessings and the transfer of the wealth of the wicked to the righteous, and so on. So people are struggling. They're tired of they're exhausted from the burden, depression from all these things. Well, I mean, So emotionally, people want these things to happen right away. But, what is that expectation, though? I mean, what I've seen through this expectation, including myself, is that, well, if my focus is on all these other things and promises and good times to come here on the earth and this and that, well, then my focus is not on God, is it? So during these tougher times, it's an opportunity for us to use this atmosphere and this energy to go turn to God and get closer to Him. All right, you can develop a relationship in tough times and in great times. All right, and sometimes growing through and overcoming the tough times with someone can build tremendous amounts of heartstrings with that person. So that's what I learned when I was younger, and I thought that was pretty amazing. And so I believe that this is also what God is doing with us, in that, hey, there's tough times, it's gloomy out, whatever, especially if you listen to Satan's news forecasts and all that, mainstream media, and although that's going to be corrected. But, you put all that stuff in your head, and then you focus on the emotions, you focus on yourself, instead of focusing on your relationship with God. And so then therefore, okay, well, that's how things get messed up. But here, God says something, well, that's great. But, you're just supposed to be walking with God anyways, right? So it shouldn't be that big of a deal going through the tough times, right? When we're just doing what we're supposed to do in the first place, which is walk with God, abide in Him, enjoy His presence, praise and worship Him, pray, talk to Him, ask Him questions, okay? Express yourself to Him, okay? So let's get on to the explainer verses. Here's what I have so far. Have the faith of Noah. Obey God like Noah. Obey God even though God's promise may take years to develop. Don't worry, be joy-filled, chill out, be laid back and easygoing, and simply trust God when He tells you something. Okay, I just added this. If times are rough and tough around you, don't focus on that. Just keep doing what you are supposed to be doing. Okay, let me start over. If times are rough and tough around you, don't focus on that. Just keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. Obeying His commands, abiding in Him, loving Him, praying, talking to Him, expressing yourself to Him, listening to Him, obeying His direction and commands to you personally in your life, ... Okay, fear, respect, be in awe of God, and do what He says. Okay, I'm just going to add this. Simply trust God. All right, that's it. Thank you for your time. I bless you in the name of Yeshua. I pray that you receive understanding of Jesus' commands and applied commands, that you may bear fruit for God and the kingdom. I pray that you would be imparted understanding on how to have a trusting relationship with God, and that your relationship with God would grow, and that you would grow by obeying Him, and that your relationship would grow even bigger and better and closer and more awesome, that you would experience the wonderfulness and the depth of God's person and personality and His heart. In the name of Yeshua, I stir up and release the anointing. May the Lord bless you. Thanks. I'll talk to you on the next one.